Fantastic. There are rooms where history is celebrated, rooms where decisions are made, rooms where lives begin, and rooms where lives suddenly and violently end. Tonight's story begins inside one of those rooms, but it does not remain there. It travels from a Chicago apartment to police stations and courtrooms. Through missing evidence, reluctant witnesses, corruption, influence, and a justice system placed under extraordinary pressure. Tonight, Darkwoods Paranormal is entering a different kind of darkness. Not the darkness of an abandoned asylum, not the darkness of a haunted forest, but the darkness that appears when the truth exits and powerful forces attempts to preserve anyone from hearing it. Good evening, everyone. I, of course, am your humble host, Gabriel Von Graves, and welcome to Darkwoods Paranormal. Tonight, you are not simply our audience. Tonight, you are the jury. And once again, joining me always is the most beautiful co-host one could have, Raven Knight Raven. You do such a wonderful entry video. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks. I
How,
love doing it. I'm super excited about tonight's episode.
how you
So
doing tonight?
I'm glad we're here. I'm really good. How are you?
Good. Good, good, good.
Okay, good,
So
good.
tonight, like I say, our audience is the jury. Our guest begins his professional life beneath stage lights. Greg Owen, once a touring professional musician, a keyboardist with the American breed, the understood rhythm, timing, and how to hold the attention of a room. Those abilities would follow him into dramatically different arena. After attending law school, Greg became an assistant state attorney in Cook County, Illinois, where he prosecuted major felony and homicide cases. He later served at Cook County Chief of Gang Prosecutions during one of Chicago's most difficult and violent periods. But one case would follow him for decades. In March of 1976, a father searching for his missing son entered a Chicago apartment and discovered a scene no parent should ever witness. Inside were Gio and Delphina Ticker Moore. Delfino Messalina. Is that correct, Greg? Did I pronounce his name correctly?
Gio Messina. Yes.
Messina and Delphine Moore. Both
Yep.
had been murdered. A suspect was identified and arrested, but the road between arrest and justice was anything but certain. The case began to unravel, evidence vanished, witnesses had to be located, money and influence pressed against the judicial process. And the trial itself came dangerously close to never happening. Greg and co author Jonathan Dixon tell that extraordinary story in Comfort. I'm gonna screw that up.
Convergence.
There we go. An account of the
Convergence.
apartment 131 murders and the prosecutors who fought to place that evidence before a jury. This is not a traditional mystery asking us, guess who committed that crime? This is something considerably rare. It is the story of how justice is investigated, assembled, challenged, preserved, pressured, argued, and sometimes rescued at the very moment it appears ready to collapse. Tonight, we will examine the case from the prosecutor's side of the courtroom. We will discuss the victims whose voices had been silenced, the witnesses who carried pieces of the truth, the obstacles placed between crime and its consequences, and the responsibility of the standing before a jury and asking 12 people to deliver justice for two individuals they never knew. Our guest has commanded concert stages and courtrooms. He has faced audiences seeking entertainment and juries carrying the power to determine other person's fate. Tonight, he enters Darkwoods to take us beyond the official record and into the human reality of homicide prosecution. Greg Owen, welcome to Darkwoods Paranormal. The courtroom is yours and the record is now open, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so looking forward to this. Really, 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 really. You guys are you do a great pre-show too. They don't know that, but you do a great pre-show.
Raven does a wonderful job.
Yes.
Well, we'll take that. I'm super excited to talk with you, Greg. First of all, I am, and I hate to say a true crime fan, but that always sounds terrible when you say you're a true crime fan. But I've always been very fascinated in true crime and the people who do the job that you actually did, which would be prosecution and also the defense. But how did you? I know that you were in a band and then you went off and went to law school and became a prosecutor. How did this happen? Can you give our audience kind of a little bit of a background on that?
Well, actually, I was in the band all through law school. I only went every other semester. They let me go every other semester, and I'd tour. So from June to December, I was on
Nice.
tour, and then when I was home, I'd be in school, but I'd play in Chicago, Milwaukee, where I could still get back. So I never stopped playing. I mean, I started playing when I was about 15. My mother made me take piano lessons when I was real young. And I played all through high school, college, and then went to law school because our bands had gotten screwed, as we say, by managers that had lawyers. We'd sign papers, we didn't even know what we were signing. So when I finished college and I wasn't going to end up in the draft because my lottery number was high, my friend said to me, you should take some law classes. I go, are you crazy? What do you mean? What's law classes mean? He goes, law classes. I go, you got to be kidding me. And then 2 weeks later, I said, maybe he's right. Maybe I should take some law classes. So you can't take law classes. You got to go to law school. So I applied and got accepted. Well, actually 3 different schools. So I picked the one I wanted to go. I started in January and met with the dean. I showed up with hair on my shoulders, braids in my hair, there was a feather in my hair, and bell bottoms with patches, and you name it. I was full rock and roll. And I walk into a law school at the time when most of the guys were wearing suits and ties. And there's me. So I sort of stood out. But I said to him, I said, listen, sir, Dean, I tour a lot. He goes, that's pretty obvious. You're doing something different. I said, yeah. I said, I mean, why are you here? I said, well, I just want to not get screwed so bad or taken advantage of. And he goes, well, okay, well, that's not a bad reason. And I said, could I go every other semester? And he let me. So it took me almost 5 years. I just went one semester and toured the other semester. So I never stopped
Wow.
playing even when I was in law school. I mean,
Well, that's
I play in
fascinating.
Chicago and I have to go in the band room on breaks with my law books and read because I had to go to school the next day. Yeah,
That's
it was,
amazing.
well, it's just funny though, because when you're doing it, you don't think much. I mean, oh, okay, well, I went to college and played in the band, so why not do this too? I mean, you're so naive, you don't realize, what are you doing? I think back and I go, was I crazy or what? But I did. And then my last semester, I had a real heartbreak. Some woman I really was fond of ended up with the lead singer in a different band, and he happened to be a drug dealer, and I was just devastated. So it messed me up sort of strong. I started to look at myself like, where are you going? You don't sing. You may play keyboard, but what? And one day I'm walking down the stairs, all with the long hair, and I see a note on the bulletin board that says, Cook County State's Attorney's Office will be in room 204, whatever it was, the very next day. And something inside me, it was sort of scary because I didn't do acid or anything. So it wasn't a flashback. I mean, it wasn't that. But something literally said, you better do this. You better do this. And I'm like, I'm looking around like, who said that? And then it did it again. And then I took a deep breath. I quit looking. I stopped looking up and I looked back up again. And the third time, now I'm terrified. I go right to the payphone. True story. Everybody knows at the time. Call my mother. I said, Ma, could you get the guy to cut your hair to cut my hair tonight? She goes to me, is there something wrong with you? Are you crazy? I go, no, is this something I got to do? She thought I was nuts. So I get home. I said, then I need you to, we go to get my hair cut. And then she takes me to the mall, gets me a suit. I didn't have them. I didn't even own a suit. No shoes, nothing like that. And the next day I show up for this interview. And the guy says to me, well, Greg, it's your lucky day. I go, ooh, what's that mean? I didn't even know what a prosecutor did. He said, there's a new rule the Supreme Court just passed because we have such a high crime rate. We don't have enough money to hire more people. So interns, senior law students who are approved and have the right grades, they can try cases as if they're a real lawyer, misdemeanor
Wow.
cases. I'd never been to a courtroom. I mean, I never even had a ticket, nothing. I was totally naive. And he said, so what do you think of that? I go, oh, okay, I guess. So I was told where to go. Monday at 1 o'clock after my morning class, I show up in my little suit on, and I walked into this court building. It was so crowded, it was scary. I mean, it was downtown Chicago, And then I was told to go to a particular room in that building, and I did. And there were people lined up down the hall. I'm like, are they giving something away or what? I mean, what's going on here? I start to go in the door. Some lawyer comes out with a client. He's swearing at him, you better have my effing money and this and that. And I'm like, is this what law is all about now? Is this what I've got myself into? I walk into this courtroom. There was at least 80 to 100 people jammed in this little room. There was smoking. People were eating hot dogs. I'm like, is this it? Is this what I went to school for? So I walked to the front and I'm told who to see, and there's a real prosecutor, young guy. And he says, "Well, take these police files and start calling these names out." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Like this." He starts yelling. I'm like, "Oh my God." And the judge is trying a case and nobody said a word. So I did that. And then, but next day he says, "Here, try this case." I go, "What do you mean, try this case? What does that mean?" He goes, "I thought you were in law school." I don't know what. He says, "Watch me." So I watched him, and then the next one I did, and I'm like, "Oh man, that was so bad." And I stayed there for 6 months. I tried 300 cases.
Oh, wow.
And what happened was after 2 weeks, I started to really like it. So I officially left the band, found my replacement, and I never looked back. And I mean, and it was like you said that in the opening. I wasn't afraid to be in front of people. I mean, I'd done that most of my life. So this was a little different, but it was still the same. And I also noticed when I was up there trying these cases, sometimes girls would come in. I'm so bad. And I'm like, oh man, they're checking me out like I was in a band or something, so I better do good. So, I mean, that wasn't a motivation, but it was one of the things that I was shocked. I didn't even realize that would happen. And that's what I did for 6 months. And then I took the bar exam. And I was on my way to LA to see the band I used to be in. We're doing an album for Mercury Records. And I wasn't in the band anymore, but I had 2 months off because it takes that long to get the results. And the day I took that bar exam, excuse me, the last day, I went to lunch and I heard all these sirens. I mean, there was a lot of sirens downtown, it was more than usual. I didn't think much of it. I go back to finish the bar exam and I go home. And when I get home, I lived in the city. I saw the paper man putting papers in a box, evening edition of the Chicago Daily News, I think. And there was a headline that said, "Contractor, actress found slain." It was a huge headline. And there was an article on the side with a picture of a very attractive young woman. I wasn't going to get it, but I had no change. So I go in the house. I'm getting my stuff packed for the next morning to leave. And my brother calls me. And I said, "Hey, Jay, what's up?" He goes, "Man, I'm so bummed out." I go, "Why? What's the matter? What's going on?" He says, "Well, my friend and his girlfriend were murdered." "Where?" He says, "Right down, not far from where you live." I go, "You're kidding me. Well, how did this happen?" Well, he tells me the name of the friend. I didn't know most of my brother's 4 years younger, so he had his own cadre of friends, and I was always on the road or something. So he tells me, and I say to him, "Wait a second. Was your friend a contractor?" "No, but his dad is a big contractor." I said, "Oh, wait. Was his girlfriend an actor?" He goes, "She just finished acting school." I go, "Are you kidding me? I just saw the headline, right?" Well, while I was taking that bar exam, the father of this man found his son, who has been missing for 2 days, and the girlfriend murdered in her apartment in a nice area of Chicago. I mean, he hadn't been heard for 2 days. There were no cell phones in those days, so you couldn't really reach anybody. And the thing that makes this interesting is 4 years later, I prosecuted that case.
Wow.
I mean, what's the odds of that? I mean, the story isn't about who; it's about why and how.
Right.
How
Right.
did this guy get this defendant who was arrested within 2 3 days? Very wealthy, extremely wealthy, 24 years old at the time. He was given a bond on a double murder. That's unheard of. Nobody gets a bond on a double murder, but he did,
Right.
and it wasn't that high. And then the case, I come to find, was transferred to a court building where we never had trials like this. No murder cases were ever sent there, but this one was. And it just so happens that his lawyer was good friends with the judge there. So here's a guy running around on bond for 4 years. They're ready to drop the case. The eyewitness is taken the fifth. Evidence has disappeared from the evidence locker room. And my brother calls me and says, my friend's case. I go, "I don't know what's going on with your friend's case." He goes, "Well, your office said they're going to drop it." I go, "That's impossible. We don't drop murder cases like this." "Well, that's what they said." He said, "Would you just look into it for me?" That's all I was going to do. So I found out it was in a different building where it shouldn't be. I went downtown that day. I went up to the office of the state's attorneys in that building. They were usually doing like felony, theft or some drug cases, but they never had violent crimes there. So this was a really violent crime. So I go upstairs. I see a guy run into that I know. I said, Sandy, I'm looking for a case. He goes, oh, hey, Greg, how you doing? I said, I'm doing good. How's Mike? Oh, he's doing good. So we have a little conversation. He goes, what case you looking for? I tell him the name, and he looks at me. He goes, Greg, I wouldn't touch that case with a 10-foot pole. That case is poison. He said, the eyewitness, there's only one witness. We got no fingerprints. We got nothing. He's taken the fifth, and the evidence, almost all of it disappeared. I'm like, oh, this is a good start. That's great. Well, and he can't even find the file. So he finds the file literally under somebody's desk who didn't want to look at it. And he hands it to me and he goes, good luck. So I sit down, I go through it, and I take his picture out. And this guy, I mean, I saw where he lived. This guy was so wealthy. And it just peed me off, okay? It did. Because here's a guy who thinks he's just going to walk from a double murder because his family's got all this money and he's just going to get a pass. And there was so much corruption in our court system then, it was disgusting. And none of us could really do anything about it. But here was a case where I thought, man, we may not win this case probably, but at least we're going to get it on trial. So I said to him, I'm going to take this case. He goes, man, you're out of your mind. I called my boss. I said, what? How can I take this case? He goes, it's all yours. I mean, everybody was so down on this case. So he said, I said, well, okay, well, I got to get it transferred. He goes, well, good luck with that too, because I had to get it out of that courtroom, you know. And what was the justification? So I met with the chief judge and the criminal court. He transferred it out because my partner and I were signed to this 26th in California, where all the murder trials were, and we got into a courtroom. And then the fun began. I had to get this witness to testify. And he had a lawyer. The lawyer was calling me, quit bothering my client. I mean, you know, the clock's starting to run now. I mean, there's only so long you can keep these cases. Eventually, the defense counsel's going to ask for trial. Let's go. And then you get a countdown. So we were at that phase. So, but my partner and I, we thought, man, no matter what, we're not giving up. Obstacles don't have to mean defeat. So we just fought hard. And justice isn't automatic. You know that. It's definitely not
Oh,
automatic.
yeah.
Systems fail. I mean, but the bottom line is if you don't stand up for something, what's the point? I mean, what are you doing? So sometimes, what they say, character isn't revealed when life is easy. It's revealed when doing the right thing can cost you something.
Right.
And that's how we believed in that. Our job was to give those victims a voice. That's how we thought. And my partner and I, we never lost a case together. That was a big deal to us too, because we were so different, but we were so good. So we took this case, and then it was my job to get the witnesses to find anybody, because we couldn't even link the killer to the victims, because the guy that witnessed it didn't know the killer. So we got a case. I got to convince this guy not to take the fifth. He wanted immunity. I said, man, we can't do that. That'll sound bad. Because you were present, they're going to try to put it on you. He knew that. He knew they tried to say he was the killer, or that it was a minor drug transaction, nothing big, couple 3 grams of cocaine. So I mean, at least not then it wasn't a big thing. So he was involved in that a little bit. So he thought if he goes to trial, if he testifies, he's under oath then, and things don't go right, we'll go after him. That's what he thought. So I went through sheer hell to get him to testify. Then his girlfriend, who he went and saw right after the killings, she wouldn't talk to anybody. I had to convince her to testify. And then we found a drug smuggler in Tennessee who was involved. I mean, it was just a mess. I ended up talking to the governor of Tennessee at the time. I mean, the last thing on earth I'd ever thought I'd be talking to, person. And it finally came together, But we were up against probably the 3 best lawyers in Chicago at the time.
Wow.
Between them,
Wow.
they had over 98 years experience, and my partner and I together had 9 between us. So these
That is
guys,
crazy.
the opinion of these guys is going to roll right over you guys. You don't have a chance. But they underestimated us, I think. I'm pretty sure they did. They didn't realize that we were pretty good at what we were doing, and we had formed a real bond between us, and we knew how to pick a jury. We knew how to prepare witnesses. We learned the choreography of the courtroom, as we called it. Because trying a case isn't just standing up there. There's a
Yeah.
whole the way you get good at it is you learn where to stand, depending on the witness. What to wear, how to conduct yourself, how to posture. I mean, it's not just standing up there and do it. I see a lot of people on TV; they don't have a clue. I mean, I see some of these people; they don't. I mean, that's why we won, because we knew how to present a case, and we took the time
Yeah.
to do it right. And we never wore jewelry, nothing. You don't want anything to obscure the message, you know. Nobody gives opinions on how you, but I always had longer hair, so I guess that was, my partner used to give me a hard time. It wasn't long, but it was longer than this. But no, it was, the case was, you know, people say this, the Cavernous, the book is a true story book. I call it more of a book about perseverance, you know, that, you know,
I like that.
sometimes you just got to think harder. You got to think differently, and work harder, you know, and don't give up. And that's the point. I mean, that's why I've always held on to this book for so long, this idea, because there was so much we had to do to get this even to trial. In the corruption, they tried to bribe me the night before my closing argument. $50,000 they were trying to give me. That's
Wow.
how tough it was.
What?
You know, I wasn't as I wasn't as mad about the bribe. I was mad that they thought I would take it. That's what insulted me. To think that even that I would even I had never taken 1 cent in my life from anybody, and these guys were so desperate. They got somebody that I knew, who was a lawyer that I knew, who happened to be, I didn't know this at the time, was a friend of the family of the killer. He
Oh,
got
jeez.
they met with me and he said, you know, you're prosecuting the wrong guy. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Are you crazy? No, I know these people. I don't care what you know, man. He goes, well, he had a duffel bag with him. We were in a little restaurant. He goes to me, he says, you know what? His family and friends are very good people and they really appreciate people who are loyal to them. I go, so what? He unzips his duffel bag. He holds it like this, you know, and there's $100 bills in wrappers. And he goes, there's $50,000 in here. All you have to do is tone down your closing argument. I was known for my closing arguments. I was pretty dramatic at the time, you know. And so, and they knew I was going to give the final closing. So I was, I looked at him and I gave him the F word right off the bat. And I said, don't ever talk to me as long as you live. And, you know, that guy's still around. And I reported it,
Wow.
but, you know, it was his word against mine. So I didn't make that big of a deal out of it, but it's in the book, how it
Sure.
went
It's
down.
Sure.
amazing, Greg.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was,
No kidding.
it was it was very different. I mean, like I said, I never had a boring life. I can say that much, for better or worse.
Well, the first thing that strikes me about you, even before we got on air, is you have this youthful uh, energy coming from you. And I think that what just by listening to how you talk and stuff, you have this presence about you. You own the stage as you speak, and the way you tell that story, man, that's fantastic, and especially I mean, so you watch the movies and you hear about people trying to pay people off, but you actually live that. It astonished me that that stuff actually happens.
Oh, it really happened too. It was pervasive. I mean, I worked in those misdemeanor courts for 6, 7 months before I got transferred. It was so corrupt. I mean, you just knew it. I mean, you knew which lawyers were always going to win. They always won because they were paying the judges off. And it
Wow.
wasn't just one courtroom. Like they did an investigation. It was exposed like in 83, 84, and then the trial started. 16 judges in Chicago went to prison, federal prison, big time.
Wow.
48 lawyers. It was
So what
called
happens to
Operation.
Wow.
all those cases, though?
Oh, man. Well, see,
They get
there's not much you
dismissed,
can
wouldn't
do
they?
because, see, once a judge finds somebody not guilty, unless it's a bad murder case, like we had that happen too in Chicago, where a judge let a big hitman off, and eventually they found out there was corruption involved, and they retried the guy, which normally you can't because it's double jeopardy, right?
Right.
Yep.
Not
Yep.
guilty. So these misdemeanors, nobody was going to go after them, but they went after him in a different way. They got an
Yeah.
undercover crooked lawyer, they thought, who was wearing a wire 24/7. Guy that I knew real well. Didn't know he was doing that. That's for sure.
Wow.
But yeah, and it became, it was known, you can look it up. It's Operation Greylord. It was the largest investigation of judicial corruption in the history of America to this day, still. That's
That's
Chicago
crazy.
for you.
Welcome
We're
to
known for
Chicago.
that kind of stuff. We had six governors in 30 years went to prison here. So in Illinois, so we got a great reputation. And there's still a
I
lot
don't
of
even know
good
what to say.
people.
That's impressive. By the standards
How
of
about that?
you know,
Well,
jeez. So when you're
Yeah.
Chicago does
doing
have a history. It does have a history, doesn't
it
it? You
does.
know,
Oh
we,
yeah.
we
It
talked
does.
about Capone.
And
Like
I
it
think
has
it all
that.
started with the Al Capone era. I really believe that. I think that's what really, it still tinged the city for so long because when they got big and the money was so big, they were bribing everybody, cops, judges, and that system stayed. I mean, that was
Mm-hmm.
the old boys network and stuff. I mean, that's how it was. Now, I'm some kid from the suburbs. I walk in, I have no clue. I'm like, dude, you know, I was 25. I looked like I was about 12. So
Hmm.
that was another thing. I'm like, people. When I started trying jury trials, it was like hard to get people to take me serious until I got up and talked. Because they
Sure.
think, who is this guy? In this case, this is a good story. So we take the case, and the first person we got to talk to is the family of the victims, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Tony Messina, who was the man who found his son 4 years before, had never met me, heard of me because of my brother. So he said, I was going up north to meet with this eyewitness for the first time, which wasn't looking forward to. He made me drive like an hour. He wouldn't come to us. So I met Tony on the way, and near a hospital in suburbs of Chicago. He's got a nice new Cadillac, and I walk up to the door and I knock on the window on the passenger side. He says, "Oh, are you Greg?" I go, "Yeah." So I get in and sit down. He rolls the window book up. He goes, "I don't want to insult you or anything." He says, "But are you old enough to be doing this?" I said, "Yes, I am." He goes, "You just look too young." I was like 29 at the time, but gee whiz. I mean, I said, "Listen, Mr. Bazid, I've tried 41 murder jury trials already. I've had to go through my list so he could feel a little comfortable. Because my partner looked young too, so here we are with gets these guys that are like 60s, 50, big time lawyers, and there's us, a couple choir boys looking guys, me and Mike. Yeah.
So
So
did
yeah,
it?
so we had that. It was it's better be that way than I guess the other way. Look like
So
you're 90 years old.
you go in to study law. Did you think about not doing that as you started realizing how the system was so broken, or did you
Mm.
say, "I have to be here to fix it"?
Let me just tell you this. For some reason, and none of this is planned because I never intended to be a lawyer ever.
Hmm.
That was the
Yep.
last
Mm.
thing on my mind. Never thought about it. All through law school, last semester, till I did this. And when I got there, here's what it was. Okay, I grew up in Vietnam era, right? And a lot of my friends
Mm-hmm.
went to Vietnam, and quite a few, more than most schools in the country, got like 4 or 5 guys from my school got killed. And I didn't want to go to Vietnam, but I still felt like, man, those guys sacrificed. What am I doing? I'm rocking and rolling, partying and stuff. So when I got in that state's attorney's office, even as an intern, I felt like I was doing something good for society. Maybe I was making up for not going in or something. So I looked at it more. I actually looked at it like, well, I'm straight, and I know I won't ever do anything, but I'm going to do this because I think ultimately it could be a positive thing. And I really did feel that way. I was so naive. It's young. But I approached it that way. I mean, and I ended up, nothing I ever loved more than that when I was doing that. That was the greatest time of my life, I think.
Do you
That's amazing.
believe because you did it the right way and you actually went against the norm? Two young kids. Basically everybody's in everybody's eyes, and here you are going against these mature people that are known for winning. Do you
Yep.
think you changed the behavior of the judicial system because you did it the right way, and they're like, you know what, we're doing it wrong, and then you
Well,
guys
yeah,
just start steamrolling.
let me say this. I have a sketch done by a NBC sketch artist of a sketch of my partner and I with nothing else, just us. That's how well known we got known. They would sketch us without the courtroom even, just the team.
You're bigger
I
than
mean,
the courtroom.
I didn't think about it at the time, but then years later, I go, look at that, man. There was just you and him and me. There's a few pictures like that. There was others when we're in trial in front of juries and stuff, because there was no television in the courtroom. They had to draw. But
Sure.
I would say that the thing that, and people say this today, my partner Mike, he passed away about 4 years ago, which is sad.
Sorry.
He was like my closest. He was like a brother. Anyway, but people even recently have said to me, one thing about you and Mike, you were known for you take any case, you didn't care how bad it was, and you guys would go in there and fight. I mean, that was a unique thing to hear from a fellow peer who was then a lawyer, because they don't tell you that then. Nobody. It's 40 years later you hear about, oh yeah, man, we thought you guys were the coolest. So we didn't think about it at the time, but it became like a thing. Like they would assign us to a case that they would say, Greg or Mike, I want you guys to take this case. It really sucks. I go, okay. I mean, we would be told that. We'd be sent to other court areas to try cases that they didn't. I mean, because we would do it, and we were good. We were good in the courtroom, so that well, at least there'll be a chance. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
possibility, and we took that as a challenge, you know, and we both had the same feeling about victims. That was our job. They're not there. We're sitting in our seats. We should put two more chairs next to us. I thought of doing that once, but a judge told me I can't. Put two chairs, like a chair for the victim. Like, what's that other chair? That's the victim. He's sitting with
Right.
us, or she's sitting
Yeah.
with us, or they're sitting with
Make
us.
it a visual.
I tried, and the judge wouldn't go for it. It was too theatric, he thought. But it's the truth, right? I mean, the victims need a voice, and
Right.
that's the
Yeah, they
bottom
do.
line.
Mhm.
I mean, you try a
Yeah.
case, and other than like the autopsy, not that often. It's all about how the defendant did this, how he got arrested, what the police did, all this technical stuff, and you sort of lose track of the victims. You really do.
Yeah.
And that was our job, give them a voice, and that's how we approached the case, and I think that's part of why we were successful because we really believed in that.
So as
Yeah.
you're
And
standing up there and you're fighting for the victim and you're standing in the presence of somebody that you truly feel did this crime. Can you feel evil? I mean, I've met
mm,
people. We've in we went to a bar called Shaker's Bar in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and the owner Bob, a good friend of ours, said he
mhm.
actually served Jeffrey Dahmer a drink, and he said you
Oh,
can tell there is something about evil. You can feel it. Can you
yep.
can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, you must have had those
Oh,
experiences. You're
yeah.
like, you know what, this is wrong.
I definitely did. In fact, well, as an aside, when John Gacy was being tried, I worked in the courtroom right down the hall, now two courtrooms away from there, and
Really?
his prosecutor was my boss, Bill Kunkel, who hired me.
Okay.
So I went in
Wow.
there one time, and the jury was out of the courtroom, and I came to ask Bill a question real quick, and Gacy was sitting there, and I could feel the evil. I mean,
Ooh.
I mean, being in his presence was scary, right? And
Right.
then when I got into being a gang prosecutor, I prosecuted some gang leaders, and these guys were like cartel guys. They were just cutthroat. They'd kill your whole family and not think twice, and
Mhm.
not even have any hesitation. I mean, I had a case where we beat a pretty big, a real big drug leader, a gang leader who was also a big cartel guy, and he was so aggravated after he lost that he put a hit on me.
Oh wow.
And it was so serious that he happened to be in the jail hospital, and he was laying next to an armed robber guy, and the jail would let his gang members visit him in there. I mean, you're not supposed to do that. And this armed robber guy was laying next to him in a bed, and he overheard him saying that they had my address, they knew where I lived, and he said, the gang leader said, if you don't kill him, just kill his wife and baby. I had
Oh my
like an 18
gosh.
month old son. And
Jeez.
what they did was, one of the guys in this gang was a 20-year-old Army reservist, and he knew how to operate a surface to air missile. So they went to the Army Reserve Base in Maywood, Illinois, and they broke into a railroad car and took it. And that was the job: blow up my house, kill everybody. And
Wow.
they recovered. They recovered. The armed robber, he went to the jail authorities and he said they're going to kill this guy's family. He said, I don't care about him. That's what he said. He said to me, he says, man, I don't care what they do to you. But that ain't wife killing your wife and baby. That ain't right. That's why he, honor among thieves, I guess. That's the
Yeah.
only reason he mentioned it, because if they would have just said me, he wouldn't have said a word and I'd be done.
Right.
But he did. And that happened on December 23rd, just before Christmas. Two of my
Wow.
investigators came in and said, close the door. He goes, your wife and son are safe. I go, what are you talking about? Well, there's a legitimate contract on you.
Oh my
That was one of
gosh.
three. And once I got into gang prosecutions and I was the chief of the unit, it got a little scary at times. Yeah, I mean,
I can only
and I thought I
imagine,
was
man. I
so
mean, that's
macho,
got to be something that's always on your mind, though, Greg. I mean, you have a beautiful
Yeah,
wife, a baby. I
yep,
mean, that's got to scare the hell out of you.
yeah, no, and like I
I've
said,
always
after the what?
Oh, I was
Yeah, I
just
mean,
gonna say, I've always said, I mean, we do paranormal stuff, but I've always been more scared of actual people
Hmm.
than I
oh,
have been of ghosts and paranormal stuff
Absolutely.
because people are, like Gabriel was saying, are legit can be legitimately
yeah.
evil. So I mean, that is terrifying though, Greg.
And
Like,
you
how
don't
do
even.
you even?
I used to wonder, is it evil or they just have no heart at all? They don't have any feelings about
Mm,
anything. And these
Void of a
drug cartel
soul.
guys, Yeah, no, that's what
Yeah.
it is. No soul.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to think to myself, how could they have any friends?
Right.
Think about it. If you're their friend, why wouldn't they kill you too if they kill anybody else? And
100%.
this was the beginning of the drug cartels in Chicago when they were bringing drugs in from Mexico, and that was like 1981 when that began. And this guy was the leader of this whole deal up in Chicago,
Mm,
and he would have thought nothing of killing everybody. He could care less. That's why
right.
I realized a long time ago, these are dangerous people, man. They have no heart for anybody, zero. You know,
Right.
but
I have to ask you the opposite though. So Gabriel asked, if you ever feel evil when you go into a space. Have you ever been in the process of maybe, trying somebody and you're supposed to be prosecuting them, but you suddenly have a change of heart, or you're like, wait, this person might not have done this. Has that ever
well,
happened to you?
let me say this: I could never go into a courtroom and try a case if I had even the slimmest. I mean, there had been no doubt. But
Sure.
when I became the head of the gang unit, and there was a case, I had had a witness prior to a different time, and he had been arrested with 6 other people and charged with this vicious rape of a young woman at a big concert. And I knew this guy, and I went. He was arrested and charged. You know, not charged, but he was arrested because it was up to us to charge. It was a gang, a street gang, and I knew this guy, and I knew he wasn't even part of that gang. And I talked to him. I said, "Listen, man, just tell me what happened." He goes, "Man, I wasn't at that show." And I mean, I knew this guy pretty well, you know. And I told him, "No, we're not charging him. There's no way." And they were mad. The cops were pissed, well,
Mm.
aggravated. Excuse me. So, so, so I mean, if I thought if there was any question, we wouldn't do it. I mean, how can you live with yourself if you prosecute somebody that's not guilty? Oh my God!
Right.
What I mean, that's the most horrible thing I can ever imagine. That's
Right.
no way, not me, not me and Mike, not us. No. I mean, you hear stories about people that have done that, but I mean, it makes me sick to even hear those stories. You know, and
Right.
but then there's a situation we didn't have DNA in those days, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
today, someone could be convicted of something and be eyeballed and said, you know, somebody said that was the guy. Maybe they had a mistaken identity, but they were convinced, and then later they find DNA that says he didn't do it. That's that would bother me too.
Oh,
If
Right.
you had a case
absolutely.
like that, yeah.
Right.
So because you
Mm.
became so successful, and not just because of the cases you tried, but because you actually were fighting for the victim, right?
Yep.
Did you ever have your professors that taught you come up to you and like, "Wow, I've been watching your, I've been kind of watching what you're doing, and I'm impressed."
Well, there's another good story. Quite the opposite in a way. So I was in
Oh
law
no.
school, maybe my 3rd year because I went 5, and that was my last semester of this particular year. I'm still in the band, of course. And one of my classmates says, "You know, Greg, you got to take Mr. Magotson, his name was, for trial technique. He gives everybody at least a B." I go, "Hey, man, I'm all for that. I'll take the class." So I go to the class, about 20 kids of people in the class. Like I said, I'm with the long hair. Everybody's sort of normal. And I thought I did pretty good. And it was the end of May, and the class was over, and he handed pieces of paper with everybody with their grade, you know. But he didn't hand me mine. He says, "Greg, could you stay over?" I said, "Sure." So I'm sitting by myself. He pulls up a desk right in front of me, and he's got this piece of paper in his hand. He goes, "Greg, I got your grade right here. It's the lowest grade I've ever given for this class." I thought, wait a second, a guy never gets lower than a B. What did I get? He goes, "I should have given you a D, but I gave you a C minus." He goes, "You don't have, you don't have the character. You don't have the what some 3 or 4 things." He said I didn't have, and I'm like, "Really? I didn't think I was that bad." So, guess who the lawyer was on this double murder? The main
Oh
lawyer was
no.
this guy that was my law school professor. So when the
No.
case was
What?
over, when we won a 2-hour jury trial, they blasted him and the other 2 people that were so wealthy lawyers, rich. There was a news reporter standing not too close from us. I didn't think she heard. And I said, "Hey, Mr. Maggots." And he goes, "Yeah, what?" I go, "Not bad for a C minus student, huh?" You know,
Oh,
I just whipped you. Yeah. I beat him on
That
another
was
case after that.
amazing.
I mean, to think that he me down so bad. I mean, I didn't care that much because I didn't want to be a lawyer anyway. But it was
right.
still an insult, I felt, you know. But he was in the book. You'll see, he was my professor that taught me. Was
Oh, that
supposed
is
to have taught me how to
amazing.
try a case. Yeah. And it,
So I have to. I want to go back to you were saying something about
sure.
eyewitness testimony earlier, and
Yeah.
we know. I mean, me as somebody who looks into true crime a lot, like eyewitness testimony isn't always reliable, right? So how do you? I mean, and that's not usually the number one thing that you would go for, but you were trying to get these eyewitnesses in this case. How did they help your case?
Well, the first thing you have to do, if, depending on the witness, is corroborate them because
Mm-hmm.
we didn't have any DNA. In this case, there were no fingerprints, nothing. There was no. We didn't have no cameras in those days. Close. It didn't exist yet. So you were totally dependent on a witness. Every now and then you get lucky because maybe a weapon was recovered and you could prove that that weapon that was recovered from that person was the bullet that killed the person came from that gun. That was about the deepest technology you get because there was no real blood. They'd say, well, it's a type A. Well, okay, well, so what? How many other people are type A or type B, you know?
Yeah.
So, so the biggest challenge is because in a way eyewitness is some of the worst cases you can have because the defense attorney can shred them up, you know, and you've got nothing left because that's your case. So you
Yeah.
have to corroborate what they say. If they tell you this, you have to say, okay, where did they go after they saw this and who were they with and bring those people in to say, yes, he did do this, he did come by me, he didn't have blood on himself clothes, you know, these there's things you can do. And we had to do that, and we would have to find witnesses after the fact, like the police would arrest somebody, they get charged, and then we get the case and we're stuck with whatever they did. Now we'd have to go out and find more witnesses because it's like one case gets cleared, I'm on to the next one, the cops, police. That's how it was done.
Yeah.
So we went out of our way because I didn't want to get hung out to dry in the middle of a case and a witness. What do you do now? You know, and you,
Yeah. No
what
kidding.
one thing though, I was saying preparation. See, that's another thing we did. We went out of our way to prepare these witnesses so well. So let's say we'd have them in 2 or 3 times before they testify. Then the day before they're going to testify, we'd have them come late in the day, and we'd take them up to the courtroom. And I'd say, no, sit down on the witness stand, where he's going to sit or she's going to sit the next day. I said, no, I want you to look around. This is what you're going to see now, but you're going to see people. But this is what it's going to feel like. And then I would do like a like a trial direct examination. I'd go through the questions, and then my partner would get up and act like the defense attorney and cross him. And we were good at crossing. He would rip the guy up, and then the guy would know what to expect, or she would know what to expect, depending on the witness, what's going to be in store for them tomorrow. So when they got up there, they
Right.
weren't as afraid, you know. We would tell them, don't change the way you act. Don't be nice to us and be cocky to him, the lawyer or her, because the jury's going to sense that. And we see a lot of people didn't bother to tell their witnesses that. We told them that's what's going to happen. And then when you're on cross, you got to count 1,000, 1,002 because you got to give us time to object. If you start blurting out answers, and they may not be answers you have to questions you have to answer, we need time to say objection. You know. So they would, and I said it also gives your mind 2 seconds to relax for a second. You go 1,001, 1,002, and then you answer. See, it's amazing how much you can think in 2 seconds. So
There's a lot that
that
goes
was
into
what
that.
we don't. There
Yeah.
was a lot more to it. I mean, it was a lot deeper than people might think, and and we were masters at it. I have to say, like, if I do say so myself, we got really good at it. I mean, I look forward to trying cases. There was nothing I've ever done that made me more happy than doing that, and speaking for those
So
victims and their
Very
families.
cool.
I think it's safe to assume that as many cases that you tried, you're able to start sensing a person as you're speaking to them, whether it be picking juries, jurymen, or whatever it is. How do you get that experience to be able to feel out the person as you're asking them questions to see if they will react the way you want them to when you
Yeah.
when you plead the case?
Well, the first thing is in jury selection, we never had jury consultants or nothing. It was us. And the way the training went, when you became a felony trial prosecutor assigned to a courtroom where there were jury trials, there'd be 3 of you. There'd be one guy who's like the captain, and then there's a second guy, and then you're the least experienced. Well, you try cases with the guys that have a lot more experience, and they teach you. It's really hands-on. They teach you. And this is why we're not. And there was a rule in our office when you were selecting a jury. If either one of us, that's nice. Sorry about that.
We love dogs in this
I'm
program.
a
I love my
human
dogs
being.
all
I
the
got
time.
two stupid dogs. So when you're selecting a jury, if either one of you doesn't want the juror's gone. That's it.
Oh,
They're going to
Mm-hmm.
excuse him. It had to be unanimous.
hmm
So even if I was a new guy and I said I don't think so, okay, well they're gone. So both part you have to agree, and then you have to be aware of the fact that you only have so many challenges. You can't
hmm
keep excusing people. You're going to run out. Then you're stuck
right.
with whatever comes up next. So they call them peremptory challenges. So there's a certain type of person that's going to be a little better for the prosecution, and vice versa, right?
Right.
And
Sure.
so all we wanted is people that just would be fair and don't be bleeding hearts either way. Don't be, rock hard Nazis or be bleeding hearts. We just want somebody who's down the middle. The best jurors were bus drivers. I don't care what color they were. I don't care if they're male or female. Bus drivers put up with so much BS every single day. They're just not in the mood. They're not going to buy into a bunch of nonsense. Bus
Like a
drivers were
bartender,
good.
they know the reality of a person.
Yes, they
Right.
live it every day. I
Yep.
mean, they're
Yep.
in the neighborhoods. And we would pray for a bus driver.
That's
Oh, a bus driver. Oh, good. I mean,
that's so funny.
we didn't care what color they were. It was just a bus driver. Period. I don't care what.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
then you'd be certain, occupations. Former military was usually good for us.
Mm.
Women that taught high school, not grade school, high school, because they're putting up with baloney too. So we
Oh yeah.
knew it wasn't just anti-woman, but we didn't want somebody that taught kindergarten because then they're still like sort of sympathetic for people.
Right.
After you get a little older, you realize it's not like that. And the defense would, of course, want those people. They'd want social workers. I mean, it's just what you think will be more likely to accept your proposition in the case. So I
So
mean,
at this,
you'd go through this, and
right.
there'd be four jurors put in a panel of four, and then the judge would give you the cards, and you'd look at them, where they lived, where they're from, and you have to make a call right then.
That's
And then you
And
you
is what they
decide what you
do,
want, huh?
and as you said, what they do means a lot to how they're gonna respond, right? Because it's a
Yes.
lived
yeah.
experience, you know,
Yep. No, I would say the most important thing,
right?
age too, age. But I put
Mm-hmm.
jurors on that were 21, and they were great jurors. I mean, where are you coming from? Okay, what's your dad do? Oh, okay, you're fine. I mean, back then,
Ah,
that because our parents were the greatest generation people. So
right.
they were raised pretty right. So the guy says, "Well, I'm a junior in college," or "Where do you go to school? What are you taking?" "Oh, okay, you're taking engineering." "Oh, okay, you're level-headed." Okay, I mean, we would learn this very quick, very young age. I was like 26, 27, and we were picking juries every day.
Wow.
You learn. You
So
learn.
you understand the psychology of what
That's
it is
right.
that you're about to do, and I'm assuming the other side goes where you're trying to um, eliminate eliminate the jurors that you think are be sympathetic for the other party.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And more, less, and even not even more than sympathetic, like just period, think nobody should go to jail.
Sure.
That's not good.
Right. Right.
See, because you see, the judge would say to them, like on their jury cards, there'd be questions like, "Have you ever been the victim of a crime? Do you know anybody?
hmm
Anybody in your family? Have you ever been arrested? Anybody in your family been convicted of a crime?" And so those
Mm-hmm.
questions would be there. And when the judge was talking to them, polling them, then that information will come out. So if a guy said, "Oh, my cousin's a cop," well, the defense attorney, he's gone. They're not going to. But
Yeah.
he's not
Yeah.
gone. He's not gone automatically. He's got to excuse him because
Right.
we're like, "Oh, we'll take him," And then we hit
Well,
him
of
the jury
course.
card. No, he's gone. We would say, with thanks, we'll excuse. With thanks, the people would excuse Mrs. Smith.
Right.
Very nice. Period. Which means
So
we
in
don't
the
want that our
process,
jury.
have you ever sat on a jury?
No, they've never let me. They would never
Never.
accept me. No.
Have you, Raven?
No, no, but I've always wanted to, but they won't let me because I'm sure if they ever did choose me, I'd be like, yes, please pick me. And they'd be like, you're out. They're like, you're out. You like it too much. You're too excited about this.
Well, you're
But
also
I
into
would
true
love to do
crime
it.
and stuff, so they might not want that
Yeah.
either. I don't think you're
Right.
going to start. You'll
That's what
be
I'm saying. They'd be
swaying the
like,
whole jury. Yeah.
sorry,
So
girl, get
I
out.
actually had the chance to be on a jury once, and I thought it was fascinating because there are elements in there that want to kind of make it last as long as they can because they do find it fun.
Yeah.
I actually was very
Yeah.
disappointed in the process. I always thought there'd be more theater. I've never been to jail. I don't go to courtrooms often.
Right.
And I always thought, to win a case like Perry Mason style, you got to have that get you moment.
Yep. Yep.
Do is there any is there any livelihood to that when you are sitting there and you're closing your case? I think you have to use a little bit of theater, right? Your
Oh, yeah,
stage
no
presence,
question.
because
Absolutely.
you have to have them like you.
Gravitas. You got to have some
Yes,
gravitas.
yes.
You got to have some charisma. You got to have the jury not dislike you.
Hmm.
And
Mhm.
so when you would have a jury, you would notice during the course of a trial who was not cool for you with you. And so there might be two or three that you just felt like some jurors would walk in and they, you know, oh, okay, cool, they're cool. But then there's one man, they don't want to look at you at all. And so when you did your closing argument, you argued right to them. You picked them out. You wouldn't
Mhm.
point, but you'd look at them. Now you know this, and then you looked at the next one. You'd argue right to the people you thought were the weakest jurors. I mean, that guy
So
said this
since
was not an accident. We didn't just. This is
right.
not just. We we were practiced at this.
So
This is
since you've been
good.
doing this such a long time, do you get bored of reading people? Because it's got to be automatic, even in your personal life, as you're dealing with
Mm.
people. You've got to be able to have that sense, I would assume, because to be as good as you are, you
Yeah.
can't shut it off, right? So
Uh,
do you ever get bored with life where you're like, well, this guy's predictable, and you actually see him do this, and you're like, you know,
It gets
Called it.
old. No, you do start analyzing people. I mean, it's funny
right?
though. As much as I analyze people, I've still been taken advantage of a few times. I'm not real good with
Mm.
women. I don't have them figured out too well. But other than that, I mean, no, I mean, yeah, I mean, like when you're talking to somebody, it doesn't take me long to figure out they're full of. I
Right.
mean, they start because I don't talk about myself. I don't bring anything up. I just sit and listen because I don't want to
Mhm.
act like a whatever. I mean, just me. And then somebody starts going off on this story. Like I love it when I'm around somebody who doesn't know I'm a lawyer, and they act like they are,
Ah,
and I start making opinions on stuff. And then it's everything I can do to keep my mouth shut. Like they're saying the dumbest things I've ever
Yeah.
heard, but it's tough. But I'm not going to get into it. I'm not being paid to argue with this person. No
right,
way. So
So
that happens sometimes, more often than I realize that people think they're experts at a lot of
right.
things.
we have a
You know,
lot of people. I mean, and not. I mean, we have interviewed a ton of people. We've had a ton of people come up to us and tell us a ton of their stories. What is a way, or what does it tell if somebody is maybe being a little too much? If they're lying or over exaggerating what their story is, what are some tells we can look for?
well, first of all, you'd rather have somebody that's a little humble about themselves and not all about themselves, okay? So if somebody
Mm-hmm.
comes on too strong, I mean, you learn as you get older and you've done something, people are not impressed by that. They're more impressed when you don't say anything. When you just say, "Listen, I'm good at this." They present you a case and it's straightforward. It's not like, "Oh, I can't. I'm the best." When they start getting excited about themselves, that's bad. That is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Get excited about what they want to do, but never themselves. Don't do that
Hmm.
because you're going to have to live with that. You're going to have a person working with you that's going to be really big on themselves and think you're dumb because you don't give them what they want. So,
Right.
no, I mean,
Right.
you don't. I mean, when people want to come on, they just say you have to have confidence. Like, well, I really think I would be good on your show, and I mean, tell you why. And you say it very calmly, and you list the points, and you say, so I would welcome the opportunity, and if we can ever get together, I pleasure. Thank you. Nice meeting you. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Not hype.
Mm-hmm.
Don't hype. I don't hype.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just telling you what happened. Not a hype.
Which
I mean,
is
this is
an
all stuff that I
interesting
can prove
story.
too. It's in the book. I mean, I wrote it, and I know what's true. So I don't ever like.
Right.
Well, that's the one thing. I don't ever have to like exaggerate anything because the real stuff is so bad anyway. There's no need to exaggerate
Right.
anything. Yeah.
Well,
When
we've
you're
said that
writing
before too.
when you're writing your book, did you have people come up to you and ask you to leave certain aspects out because it was unfavorable to them?
You know what? Like in this book, the killer has passed away for quite a few years ago.
Mhm.
His family's all passed away. So I guess if this was written years ago, I'd have that issue, right? But since my books are based on when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, most of those people aren't around anymore. So I don't have, I mean, I don't know what it would be like. Like, for example, the guy that offered me the bribe, he's
Right.
still around, and I
Okay.
didn't use his real name.
Yep.
There's another lawyer in the book who I didn't use his real name who's still around. So I didn't want to, you know, there's no need, they're not the central figures. Why burn somebody?
Right.
You
Sure.
know, there's no reason for it. I mean, the guy that did what he did, between him and I, he knows what he did, so that's it. I don't have to use his real
Lovely.
name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
How valuable is an exit interview when it comes to the jurors when you're done? What have you learned from there, and what have you had to adjust while you're prosecuting a case because you're like, you know what, I didn't realize this.
Yeah, no, it's probably one of the most important things you can do is talk to a jury after the verdict. Sometimes they'll say something to you that scares you, like, "Oh my God, I didn't think they were thinking that." Oh no, you know, and like with me, they'd say some female jurors, "I just loved your shoes." I'm like, "Oh, shoes." I mean, my
Oh boy.
shoes, really? I mean, I didn't think I didn't wear like wingtips, but I didn't think they were that special. And, jurors sometimes would say, we were really impressed with such and such a witness. I'm like, ooh, I didn't think that was that important of a witness at all, and they tell me how important that person was. I mean, they all say it too, like in this case, in the book, we even mentioned a couple what the jurors said to us after the jury reached the verdict, and the things that they thought were important. I'm like, thank God we did that, because it was one of those things where we're thinking,
Right.
well, really, do we really have to do this? Yeah, we probably should. And like, oh, good thing we did.
Good thing we
And then
did.
you
Yeah.
you, you hold on to that. Those post-trial jury interviews are the best things you can do. I mean, if they
Yeah.
and most jurors would always talk to you. They have no problem.
Right.
In fact, in this case, the juror said, "Could we get back for the sentencing?"
Oh,
Courtroom.
Wow.
It's open to the
That's
public, so
interesting.
I guess you can.
Yeah.
so on the flip
I
side of that, if I may ask, in generations of people, I believe that people at a whole are losing certain elements of what reality is only because there's influences of online figures and stuff.
Yep.
Like, people have lost the ability to critically think, I believe.
Yep.
Have you noticed, as long as you've been doing this, once again, it shocks me that you've been around as long as you have, because you really do have this youthful presence. Have you seen that people have kind of valued things different and kind of thought about how
Absolutely.
things different? Can you speak a little bit on that? Because that fascinates me,
Yes.
the psychology of generations,
Let me give you an example that's happening right now. Now, I'm not taking sides. I've had to say that on my
Absolutely.
Instagram post because I get chastised when I do.
Right.
So I don't. So there's this trial called Lindsay Clancy, right?
I was going to ask you all about it.
Well,
So
let
I'm
me
glad
just
we're
say
there.
this. I tried cases with insanity as a prosecutor and as a defense attorney both. And so I know quite a bit about that subject and how jurors react to that. I can tell you this. In 1980, there'd be no question that jury would convict this woman. I don't care what she took. I don't care who she was, what she did. I don't care. We would laugh about it then, like really. So
Right.
you had some too much medicine. Well, you're the one taking it. I mean, we would argue that way. Not today. No, I think 75% of the people believe she's innocent because of that. So that's a big change. I mean, that's a huge change. The perception of, I think that, I mean, women have got a voice now. See, women really do. And when I was in the prosecutor's office, there was 36 of us, and where I worked, and only 3 were women. Now there's
Wow.
70% women in the same
Wow.
place. So, I mean, I think society has changed, and I think that people are more cognizant of women's issues. Okay, and I'm not saying for one second that I don't think this woman has a legitimate defense. That's not what I'm saying. I am just saying that same defense would have been laughed out of the courtroom in 1980 to 85, for sure. I mean, you wouldn't even take it serious. Are you kidding me? If the defense is, well, we're going to go on a temporary insanity based on postpartum psychosis. Well, do you have any evidence he had psychosis, but other than that one 20-minute period? And once you argue that to a jury, they go, forget it. But not now. Not now. They'll take it serious, and they take it serious. And that lawyer she's got is really good. I mean, he is really good.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what you thought of Reddington because I think he is doing something that's pretty interesting in the courtroom right now. So I was going to
He
actually ask you what you thought both sides were doing well.
Well, he's advocating for literally for women's mental health. I mean, he really is. I mean, and it's impressive because his age. He's
Mm-hmm.
75. I mean, he's not a young guy, but he's doing a masterful job, and he's all by himself. I've never seen that before. Nobody's with him, and he's got such a command of the facts, and he really studied this. He knows what's going on. I mean, he made a point of it, and so that's very impressive. I mean, that she is getting that kind of representation. The prosecutors, let me just say this. All I'm going to say is this: their witnesses aren't prepared as well as they should be. You
Mm-hmm.
put witness on the witness stand. Don't be putting people up there you don't know what they're going to say because you're out of your mind. You don't even. I wouldn't even put a witness on the witness stand if I didn't know what they're going to say. Especially when I'm asking the questions, you haven't prepped them for your questions. I mean, that Clancy guy, he didn't even know what they were talking about. How could you put someone in a stand not knowing what they might say? They could destroy your case. And with a
Yeah.
lot of these people, I mean, Reddington is so much more prepared. Like the guy in the Karen Reed trial, that defense attorney, what's his name? The guy from California, he was amazing too. I mean, I've seen two
Mm-hmm.
that are really good, and yet in the case where the what was that case in Florida where the Wendy, what was her name? Wendy and her family all went to prison. Those prosecutors were good. What was her
Oh,
name?
yeah. And
Wendy.
I can't think of,
Yeah, she had her husband taken out, killed.
I can't think of the name. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't
but
think of the name
Edelman,
right now, but
Wendy Edelman, and her
hmm
mother went to prison. Her brother went to prison. I mean, everybody's going to prison. She hasn't got charged, but those prosecutors were good. They were really good. They were really prepared. I mean, I was very impressed. So I've seen both. I mean, but I don't know. I think, my opinion, I think it'll be a hung jury.
I was going to
There's
say,
some
I
people
think
that
he's
cannot bring
creating
in
reasonable.
when I get so I put up a 1.5 minute defense closing argument and a 1.5 minute prosecution. I got 210,000 views on the defense. I got maybe 10,000 on the prosecution.
Wow.
Really?
Same, almost the same exact everything. And the ones that were favored were all men. They wanted to
Mm.
get convicted. I mean, it's true. I mean, it really is. I mean, the guys are all like, there's every now and then there's one, but I mean, most of them are, yeah, she deserves it. So I mean, I've never seen anything that selective either. When we were prosecuting
Wow.
cases, the people I didn't care if it was man or woman. I mean, if it's the right juror, I don't care what they were. I mean, I think it's worse today. I think it's more divided. Our society is
Hmm.
divided too.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Were you
yeah,
What an
surprised
interesting
be
case,
having
though.
what?
were you surprised with your experience? The only I don't follow cases that often, but I remember the OJ and the P Diddy one, right? P Diddy one. Were
Yeah,
you surprised by the OJ case? And if you had to guess, do you
Ooh.
think that was the right outcome?
no. And I knew I had a prosecutor that worked for me in the gang unit, young guy, and he moved to L.A. and he got hired by their office out there, and he was assistant DA at the time of that case, so he
Hmm.
was pretty close to it. Those two prosecutors were terrible. They did a terrible job.
Do
I
you
mean,
think
they
that
were.
was on purpose?
No, I just
Do you
think
think they were influenced to not get probably people that were a little better suited for that case?
well, let me just say this. The crime took place in a court area called Santa Monica. There's a court building in Santa Monica.
Hmm.
Based on where a crime occurs, that's where it should be held. The
Hmm.
DA, I
Hmm.
think his name was Gil Garcetti, he thought, oh, we're going to bring it downtown. This is a dead bang winner. And therefore, we'll get more press. The press is right here. And so he was thinking of a political thing. Well, he forgot where's the jury pool coming from? The jury
Uh,
pool comes from the district area where the courthouse is. So you've got a
Mm.
far more diverse, as I might say, jury pool downtown LA than you do out in Santa Monica. I'm not
sure.
saying that's
Sure.
right or wrong. I'm just saying that's what he made that call. And those two were just, I mean, that Christopher Darden, I mean, I hate to say it, but when he told the guy, "Why don't you try the glove on?" I'm like, "Oh no, don't do this, man. This could be a nightmare." Because he won't. I thought I said the guy probably could put it on, but he's gonna fake like he can't, and that won the
Uh
case
huh.
for him. I think because the
Yeah,
glove,
if it doesn't
when you
fit,
test the
it
glove,
does.
the leather when it's wet, you know how it. You guys wear gloves. I
Sure.
mean, at some point, if you get them all wet, they're going to shrink, right? Well, that's normal.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
he actually let O.J. Simpson stand and put that glove on without having to testify, without even having to
Yeah.
pull it on further. He couldn't do anything.
I
What
think he
Johnny?
was surprised it was smaller. I really, because
Yeah.
you see the shock in his face. He's like, it doesn't fit.
Well,
Like
look, it
he was
doesn't fit.
surprised, you know?
Well, because he thought it was going to fit. He thought, oh, I don't
Yeah.
know if I
He's
should or
like, oh,
not.
I'm screwed for sure. He's like, look at this.
His fingers barely went in the thing. Yeah.
Right, right,
So
right.
that really crushed him. I mean, and you know that's one thing. It's like the most cardinal sin is to ever ask a
Mm,
question or do anything you don't know the answer to. Don't be surprised because you're going to get surprised. Then you're going to be screwed.
Right.
And the fact that they had that Mark Furman and they brought in all that expletive N word stuff, I've never heard of that before in my
mm.
life in a case. I've never heard anybody doing that or having a judge go through a big hearing about it. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
but
Right. Oh,
there are
I forgot about
cowboys
that.
out there, you know. I've
Right.
met with those guys out there. They were had a little bit of cowboy in them, you know. I mean, the whole thing was it was just, and they had all the facts. They had all the evidence. I mean, there was people that I know that were asked to try that case. Prosecutors out there, because they sent it downtown. They said they didn't want to do it. They knew what would happen. They knew this was going to happen. They thought the best they could ever get was a hung jury. They would never get a guilty
Wow.
because
Really?
well, look. I mean, I mean, I'm not. I'm just saying. You know how the jury was comprised,
Right.
and after it
Yep.
was over, there were people who are cheering. You know, and there's other
Yep.
people that aren't
Mm-hmm.
cheering. And you can put two and two together. You can
Right.
understand. I mean, people in
Yep.
L.A. were just fed up with the police. You
Sure.
know, they had that
Yeah.
case where that
Yeah.
guy got beat up a few years before, and they let him
Yep.
cops go in that case. So
Yep.
we've had enough. We're not. The cops are lying. We don't care. We don't care what he did. The cops are lying.
So do you think that
Wow.
ultimately the jury itself ruled against the society norm at the time when it comes to the observation that LA police were, being rougher on people that didn't look like them.
Yep,
So that's what they were actually ruling on and not the
absolutely.
case itself. Sure.
Yeah, because I thought it was interesting that here's a man who made a point of dating white women. Okay, he
Right.
wasn't like he was in his community or anything,
Right.
and yet the jury still sides with him because they were upset with the police. It wasn't. It
Sure.
wasn't as much OJ as it was they were done with the police. The
Right.
police lie
Wow.
about everything, and because they live in the hood, you know, they know what it's like, and they said we're done. You know, and Johnny Cochran gave him enough to hold on to, and that was it.
Yep.
And you know, he did a great job. I got to say that. I mean, he just rolled over those two prosecutors. Oof, brutal.
Well, the
Yeah.
psychology that you seem to gather, I think, is fascinating when it comes
Mm.
to what field you work in. I mean, like if you're a waitress, you get to you read the person before they even get to the bar, right? You know if
Yep.
they're how they're gonna treat you, and you know how
Absolutely.
you're gonna treat
Exactly.
them. Are you rough? Whatever. And I think that's fascinating that people don't really realize that people that work in the field that you do develop that skill. So that's
Oh
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have to if you're going to be successful.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of lawyers that are doing corporate law and doing. I'd say 95% of the lawyers don't ever try cases. You just don't realize it. They're doing other things, real estate. You know, so those that
Mm-hmm.
do. I mean, if you want to be a cut above, you better know what you're doing and have the personality to pull it off. I mean,
Oh,
that's the other thing.
absolutely.
I mean, I don't care if you're talking to a judge. You have to learn how to be very self-deprecating at times, you know, to get what you
Sure.
need, and not be acting
Sure.
like you're so cool. I remember I was a defense attorney, and I was down to Kentucky to try a case, and that was a little different. And South Kentucky, Southern Kentucky, Eastern, and you know, my guy was arrested for some drugs and stuff quite a bit, and so I'm there from Chicago, and they're like, "Yeah, we got a boy from Chicago," you know, like as if I'm Al Capone or something. And I won the case.
Yes.
I was shocked because I was so nice to everybody. Oh my God. I brought the judge's secretary like candy and flowers one day because I knew, man, I better get this judge's good side because if he starts ruling negative, I'm in trouble.
Right.
And I mean, but you learn that. And I don't care where it is. You have to learn how to read the room. I mean, it's a skill that you
Absolutely.
have to pick up if are you going to do this, you know.
Well,
I
Greg,
think it's
you
a
are
good
a
skill to have in most.
fascinating man.
Yeah, it is. Anything you
He
do.
really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, in anything that you do. Like, yeah, that's
Where do
incredible,
people
Greg.
find you, Greg? I mean, you're such a fascinating man. We could talk for like hours on end, and I
Oh
still
yeah,
don't
we
think we'd
never
even get to the root
stop.
of anything, man. You
Yeah,
know?
right.
How do people find you? Because, do you have podcasts out?
I have a, I'm not, I haven't started that yet. I mean, I didn't even use social media till October of 25. I didn't know
Really?
anything. I was a
Because you
total
just had the
ignorant.
presence for it, man. You would take off. I mean,
Oh
just
yeah.
having people just watch you just talk about things, man. I mean, this is stuff, information you just can't buy, brother. It's something that
I was
has
gonna
to be
say,
lived, you know?
Yeah,
yeah.
no, it's
You could
true. I mean,
totally
I
have a
can speak with
podcast.
authority. I'm not just
Yeah.
talking baloney here,
Right, right.
But I've got my website, which is brand new, pretty new, about a month. Greg Owen, and my mother made a point of making me have a name that was hard for people to spell. So they always spelled it wrong.
Dude, jeez.
Dude,
Greggg. Not one G, two.
Right. Just
thanks,
makes
Mom.
you
Thanks, Mom.
unique, my man. That's all.
Thanks, Mom. That was nice of you to do
Thanks,
that. I
Mom.
got a simple name. My name is spelled wrong. It's either Greg and Owens. I said, I've only got 9 letters in my name, and the name is always spelled wrong. So she raised me like I'm second grade. A teacher sent a paper home with me that I did a grade or something, and it said Greg. She says, "You better go to school and tell that teacher." I'm 7 years old. I got to tell the teacher you spelled my name wrong. You shouldn't have made it that way. So anyway, so I have a website, Greg Owen, Greggowen, then the number two and the number six, and then Greg Owen 26, because I worked at 26 in California. Okay,
Oh, that's
and my
cool.
all
Yep,
my
that makes
all
sense.
my social media is Greg Owen 26,
Right.
Instagram. Yeah.
And can you
Very
speak a little bit how
fantastic.
many books you have out and what are the titles of the books?
This is my first book. I
This is the
You
started.
book.
I
need to write
started real
more, my
old.
friend.
No, we're in the
I need
midst.
to read more.
We're in the midst of what will be an amazing book called Pursuing Kings.
Ooh.
And the reason it's called Pursuing Kings, I'll give you some insight that most people won't know. The
I love
gang
it.
we went after was probably the most dangerous adult gang, maybe in the country. They did contract hits for the mob across the country. And they were known as the Royal Family. And the Tribune
Ah.
did I could show you the article sometime, full page, and it said, the royal family, they're the kings of killing. So I prosecuted them. So the book is called Pursuing Kings. There was a guy
That's
that was
incredible.
evil. The leader, his name was Cochise. His real name was Roger, but he was called Chief or Cochise. I mean, he was smart and he was scary, both.
Mm,
I
Yeah.
love that.
that's a
He'd
deadly
look at me in that
combination
courtroom,
right
I
there.
go, this guy would kill me in 1 second if he could. In one
Greg, we
second.
have to have you back on, man. I mean, geez, dude, just it feels like seconds just listening to you and the knowledge, man. I love that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Very, very
I
rarely.
guess I'm passionate about what I do. I mean, if you
It
don't have
shows.
passion, you're going to drop over dead. You better be passionate about something. And
You
I
have to
just,
be.
and I don't talk about stuff I don't know anything about. I don't engage in conversations about stuff I know nothing about. So I try to keep myself straight too.
And I
You
think
know,
people need that because so
Love
much
it.
bullshit and
yeah,
disinformation is all over the place. I think people are
Mm,
hungry to listen to people that are raw and
yep,
knowledgeable and
yep.
just straightforward without sugarcoating anything.
No,
And I love listening to you, man. Thank you for this. I
well,
appreciate it.
thank you so much. I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Raven,
I
what do
mean,
we
I
have going
understand
on?
you
I have
guys.
to
You
read.
guys are cheap. You're in does everybody know where you guys are? Or, should I not mention
They
it?
we talk about being in the
Yeah.
Midwest, Wisconsin. Absolutely.
Okay, well, you're
Yeah, and I get sad
cheeseheads.
about it.
And I can accept that, okay, because you're cool. I'm a Bear fan. You know that. So, we can still be friends.
Well, I hope so.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I was really worried,
No, no,
but
no,
I
no.
don't
We're
care about
good. We're good.
sports,
No,
so we're.
I'll let the Packer thing go. I have good Packer friends too.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Raven, what do we have going on?
Well, first of all, I'm going to take up reading apparently because your book sounds quite
Well, you
interesting, and
give me
I'm.
Be
your
ready.
addresses. I'll send you one personally, and I'll sign it. How's that?
It's got to be a
Oh, I
movie,
would
I
love
think.
that, Greg.
Come on,
I
just
love that.
send me the information. I'll get it to you
Aw.
for
All
sure.
right. I guess I have to take up reading now.
You do.
Um,
Okay.
I love it. This is great. Well, Gabriel, we are actually headed to Gettysburg at the end of the month. I'm super excited to do that,
You're
which is
welcome to come
coming up
with you on,
pretty
Greg. It's gonna be
Oh, I'd
fun.
love
Yeah, you
to.
want to?
Gettysburg,
We'll pick
It'll
you
be
up.
on Battlefield. It'll be cool, man.
Oh yeah, I'd love to go there. I've never been there. I've been through it, but I never stopped.
Well,
I
you
was
gotta come
young
with
and in
us.
a
We've never
band.
been
We
there
didn't.
Yeah.
That's a very,
Yeah,
very
come with us.
important battlefield.
Oh,
It'd be
absolutely.
fun.
History
Yeah.
is something that I think people don't understand. If you don't experience it, if you don't visit it, it's going to disappear. Once it's gone,
Yep, you never get to
it'll
see it
never be
again.
back.
And that
And I
was my
think people
favorite
live in a
subject,
bubble where
history.
history is only this big. History's way bigger than that.
Oh,
And
that's
if you
right.
forget about it, they can trick you into anything because they
That's
can make
right.
it up. And I'm sure, if as you've experienced through your lived, um, people like to change the truth.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
do.
so you
Oh
got to
yeah.
understand history, so you understand how things actually were.
I mean, I think there's
And it's
people,
really
young people
important.
today that don't really know what the Holocaust was. I
Right?
really don't. I
Yeah, and
don't think
that's
they know what it
really
was.
sad.
That's sad.
It
I
is
mean,
sad.
That's really sad. So
it is sad.
I think too it's important, just as you have done in this, for this case, and I'm assuming for others, now that you say that you're writing another book,
Oh yeah.
to continue to tell the stories, and that's, I always talk about, like, on my end, even with Darkwoods Paranormal, like, we have people on, they tell their personal experiences, their stories, those kinds of things. And for me, like, that's really important to be able to have people tell those stories and have those stories live on, even
Yep.
if,
No,
even
that's
if
true.
sometimes the subjects are not living anymore. So,
Right. No, I
yeah,
understand. You're right. You're right.
yeah.
That's what
But
I'm doing. I'm just trying to get out there and tell people what really went on and how things were, and how they can be better too, if
I
you
love
believe.
that.
and that's great. And we're happy
Well,
that you're doing that, Greg. So
Thank
thank
you.
you so much.
tonight we did not enter a haunted house. We entered something that can be even darker. A room where two lives ended and where the truth might have ended with them. The justice system is often portrayed as a clean sequence of events. A crime is committed, a suspect is arrested, evidence is presented, a verdict is delivered. But Convergence reveals that complicated reality concealed between those familiar steps. Cases are built by imperfection, people working within a imperfected system. Evidence can disappear, witnesses can become frightened, money can create pressure, influence can reach places it should never reach, and justice is never guaranteed simply because the truth exists. Sometimes justice survives because someone refuses to stop carrying that truth forward. Greg, thank you again for trusting us with these cases, your career, and the memories behind everything you talked to us about. Thank you
Thank you
for
so
helping
much.
us understand not only how a homicide prosecution is constructed, by what it can cost the people responsible for constructing it.
Yep.
Most importantly, tonight we remember that Geo and Delphian Tinker Moore, their lives were more than evidence, their deaths were more than a case number, and their story is more than a chapter in a book. I hope that you guys do check out Greg Oman's website and his book, because the stories that we don't get to hear about, the real lived stories, I think is a piece of history that we have to familiarize ourselves with. And there's people out there that are fighting for good, because I believe in today's day there's more evil fighting against us. I want to thank everybody for joining us today at Darkwoods Paranormal. Greg, if you would mind hanging on just a little bit longer, we'd like
Sure.
to sit there and say goodbye before
Go
you
ahead.
leave.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for
I'll stay
joining.